Hi, Math 3 kiddos. So today we're going to go ahead and start Unit 2 here. So this first topic should be kind of like a review for you guys. It's adding and subtracting polynomials, which you did cover in Math 2. But of course we got to kind of up the ante here, and we're going to have, some slightly more challenging problems, some with like multivariables and things of that nature. All right. So go ahead, turn to the first day here of Unit 2, and let's get started. So here you can see we are adding two polynomials, all right? Now adding two polynomials is pretty much the same as just combining like terms, okay? So you have to go through and make sure that you identify which terms are like terms, okay? So these guys are like terms because they're both to the power of 3, okay? These guys are like terms because they're both just an x, and then these guys are like terms because they're both constants, okay? Now, when you're determining if something is a like term, they have to have the same variable, meaning like the same letter, and the exact same power, okay? And that's how you can tell if they're like terms. So, and also when you write the answer to adding or subtracting polynomials, or multiplying for that matter, you typically want to write it in standard form, which means highest power to lowest power. So we'll go ahead and do that. We've got 8x cubed and 4x cubed. Those are like terms, so we can add those together, and we get 12x cubed. Now, when you add like terms, you do not add the powers. You add the powers when you multiply, okay? So don't get that confused. Now, this negative 3x squared doesn't have any like terms, so he's just going to stay by himself. Then I've got negative 12 plus 5, and I get negative 7x, and negative 7 plus 4, I get negative 3. All right, and then go ahead, pause the video, and give the you try next to it a shot. It's very similar. All right, so now for number 2, this is just subtracting polynomials. Now when you're subtracting, what you have to do is you have to make sure that you distribute the negative to everything in that second polynomial. You're subtracting that entire polynomial, not just the first term. So what I recommend doing is just rewriting your first polynomial and then distributing the negative here. So we get minus 5 plus 4x minus 12x squared. Notice how I distributed that negative to everything, which just changes the sign. All right, and then of course we have to go find our like terms. These guys here are like terms together. These guys here are like terms together, and these guys here are like terms. So we can go ahead and combine those. So we get 2x squared plus 7x minus 18. All right, next one. Now, this is where I'd say we're kind of up in the, actually also go ahead and try the you try next to number 2. All right, so for number 3 here, we're going to go ahead, and it's going to be very similar to the one we just did. However, we kind of have more complicated terms here, okay? So you have to pay a little bit more close attention when you're determining what's like terms and what isn't. So let's go ahead. We're going to rewrite our first polynomial. And we need to go ahead and distribute the negative to the second polynomial. So we get minus 4y squared x minus 2xy plus 3y squared. All right. So now let's go ahead and identify our like terms. It's going to be a little bit trickier here. So the 16y squared is going to go with my 3y squared, okay? And my 5xy is going to go with my negative 2xy. Now, these guys might appear to be like terms, but they are not. The first one has x squared y, and the second one has y squared x. Those are not the exact same. So we cannot combine those, and they're not like terms. So we go ahead. Now, writing things in standard form with multivariables gets a little bit confusing, so I wouldn't stress out too much about that. When there's only one variable, definitely do highest to lowest, but when there's multivariables, I'm not going to get too picky with that. So go ahead, you can combine your like terms here. So I've got 16 and, oh, you may have noticed I messed up. I said I was going to distribute, but I didn't. I lied. So this 2 needs to become a plus 2, right? And this 3 needs to become a minus 3. Oops-a-daisy. All right, so we end up with 13y squared. That's these guys, okay? And then 5 and 2 is going to give me 7, so that's 7xy. And then these last two don't have anyone to really connect with here, so we've got 32x squared y minus 4y squared x. All right. And then you can, of course, go ahead and give the u-try a shot. All right, I think this is the last one, right? Okay, we're almost done, friends. We got one more. All right, so now this is adding and subtracting in the same bunch here, okay? So what we have to do is, the biggest thing is we have to make sure that we distribute the negative to the things that we're subtracting. Now, we're only subtracting this polynomial right here. So these guys up in front are going to stay the same. So we get x cubed plus 3x minus 6. And this is like a plus negative 2, so that's just minus 2x squared plus x minus 2. If you need to, you are more than welcome to like distribute a positive, but that just means it keeps the same signs, okay? You have to distribute the negative though, which remember I forgot in the previous one, so don't be like Miss Slattery. All right, and then we got to go ahead and identify our like terms. So the cubed guy doesn't have any buddies. Neither does a squared guy, I guess. So we do have some linear terms here, which is guys with power of 1. Those can all go together. And then we have our constants that we can combine. Now this one, it's only one variable. They're all x's. So I would write it in standard form. So we've got x cubed, and then 3x plus x minus 3x. Let's see, that's going to be 4x minus 3x, which is going to be just plus 1x. And then, oh, I skipped. Wow. I'm just making mistakes all over the place. Remember I said we're going to do this in standard form? I skipped my quadratic term, which is the term to the power of 2. So we've got minus 2x squared. There we go. And then we're going to go ahead and combine these. And that's a plus x, sorry. So now we got negative 6 minus 2, so negative 8 plus 4 is going to be a negative 4. And that is our answer there. So go ahead and give the u-try a shot here. Now, one thing I want to point out is this one's a minus minus. So what you do is you have to distribute this negative to this guy and this negative to this guy, okay? You just do it once. Don't distribute this guy over here, okay? It only goes to the polynomial right behind it. All right, so go ahead and do that and combine your like terms.